Hi, Ryan Dotson here. Today we're going to talk about trapping in the wilderness, specifically in survival situations. And there's a lot of different trap options that you have available to try and catch yourself a meal. There are pit traps that you can dig, there are deadfall traps you can build, but they take a lot of calories and they're not as efficient as snare traps. Snare traps are designed to use cordage to catch your animal and hold it in place until you can come over and dispatch of it. And so the best option is to actually have a manufactured snare, which is going to be reinforced cable. It's going to be an eyelet at the end that's designed to be stronger, that can actually hold animals as big as coyotes. So that's your best option. Unfortunately, in survival situations, you rarely have that with you. And so what we're looking at using in most cases is some kind of cordage. So I'm using just a orange 550 paracord today, so it's visible and you can see how I tie the snare. I prefer using copper wire, and I don't know how well you can see this. Part of the reason why I like using copper wire is because it is hard to see. The animals are not going to be able to see it nearly as easily, and so they're more likely to walk into your trap when you're using wire. The other thing is you can bend and shape this wire however you like. And so it gives you a lot of options as far as positioning your snare that you don't have with cordage that doesn't have that stiffness to it. And the other thing is that when you're tying wire versus cordage, you don't actually have to necessarily tie anything. You can just twist it like a bread tie, and in a lot of cases that's going to be strong enough to hold when you're dealing with an animal. So those are the advantages that I like. The spool that I use cost me, I think, about $6. Just a little spool of wire like that, and I've been using it over and over and over again. I always carry this with me if at all possible. Now, as far as actually tying a snare, it's really pretty simple. You're going to want to tie a simple overhand knot in the end, and then the key to making sure that it does not slip back open once the animal gets caught is you're going to overlap it. So if you can see how I've overlapped right there, and then go through your two new eyelets to create your snare. You can see how that looks right there. That's going to give you twice as much tension on the line to where when you catch an animal in here, it's not going to want to come loose. That is pretty tight right there. So that's how you want to tie your snares whenever you're using cordage. Now, unless I'm trying to catch something big, I'm probably not going to use the full 550 paracord. This has a bunch of smaller strands in the middle there that you can pull out, and each of those strands is strong enough to catch an animal like a rabbit or a squirrel. So you can actually make 7 or 8 different snares out of a piece this size, and that gets you to be as efficient as possible. So, moving back over to the wire here, all we're going to do is make an eyelet, feed the end back through the eyelet, and because the wire retains its shape that much better, you really don't have to worry about having the additional tension, because what's going to happen is, as this tightens down, it's not going to want to bend and come loose. It's going to stay in place. And so that's one of the reasons I really like using this wire. Now, as far as how you're going to attach this snare and actually implement it in the wild, one of the easiest things to do is just take this end right here and tie it onto something stationary, whether that be a stake in the ground or the base of a tree or anything like that. And then you can position this in front of a game trail, just slightly up off the ground, so that as an animal comes through here, they're going to walk through and get their head caught in the snare. And that's the quickest and easiest way to use this. Another option that I use all the time if I'm in a wooded area where I know there's squirrels is called a squirrel pole. Now, squirrels are fairly lazy. If they have a tree that they want to climb, and they have the option of climbing up another pole that's resting against it or going straight up and down, they're always going to take that 45-degree angle because it just requires less energy. So by leaning a pole up against the tree and putting snares on that pole, you give yourself a very good opportunity to catch that squirrel. So I'm going to go take this and I'm going to show you how I attach it to a squirrel pole to be able to catch squirrels in that manner. Okay, so you can see that we've got these snares attached, and because of the nature of the wire, I'm able to position them so they're just kind of floating over the squirrel pole here. So if we want to attach a third one, I usually like 3 or 4 of these on here. We just twist it a few times right there. Spin this down around to the back side, and then put it up over top here. And as the squirrel goes up here, he's going to catch on one of these, he's going to fall, and he's going to hang himself. And we got lunch. Okay, so this is a spring snare where I've actually used a spring pole here along with some cordage and a mechanism down here to hold it in place. This is just a stake and a stick right here with a snare attached on the end. And so all I have to do is place this under my stick, place the snare and place it wherever I want it, and then as the animal comes along, that'll spring up and catch the animal. So those are a few snare options for you to help you get food in the wild. I'm Ryan Dotson. Thanks for watching.